The dawn of the 1950s brought a sound the world had never truly feared before. Over the rugged, frozen mountains of the Korean peninsula, the guttural roar of traditional piston engines was suddenly pierced by a high-pitched, terrifying scream. This was the sound of the future arriving with violent intent. The Korean War was not merely a geopolitical conflict, it was the crucible of the jet age. For the first time in human history, the sky was dominated by turbine-powered predators, marking the definitive end of the propeller era and the birth of modern aerial warfare. We stood at the precipice of a technological singularity, where the atmosphere itself became a battlefield of speed and steel. Leading the American charge was the Lockheed F-80 Shooting Star. As the first operational jet fighter of the United States Air Force, it was sleek, elegant, and straight-winged. It represented the initial, tentative step away from World War II technology. However, the F-80 was a transitional artifact. While it claimed the first jet-versus-jet victory in history, its straight-wing design limited its maximum velocity, quickly relegating it to ground attack roles. Alongside it flew the Republic F-84 Thunderjet. If the F-80 was a rapier, the Thunderjet was a sledgehammer. It was a flying tank designed to deliver immense ordnance to the front lines. Rugged and reliable, it carried the weight of destruction, yet in the thin, cold air of the upper atmosphere, these straight-wing pioneers were testing the absolute limits of early metallurgy and aerodynamics. From the heaving decks of aircraft carriers stationed in the Sea of Japan, the U.S. Navy deployed its own breed of warrior, the Grumman F9F Panther. With its distinctive blue paint and reinforced frame, the Panther was not the fastest jet in the sky, but it was a survivor. It could absorb punishment that would disintegrate lesser airframes, bringing pilots, including a young Neil Armstrong, home safely. Beside it flew the McDonnell F2H Banshee, a twin-engine climber that could reach altitudes where the sky turned a bruised purple. These naval jets proved that carrier-based aviation could successfully transition into the jet age without losing its lethal edge. But the technological equilibrium was shattered in November 1950. The appearance of the Soviet-built MiG-15 over the Yalu River sent shockwaves through the Pentagon. The MiG was faster, climbed higher, and possessed swept wings that defied the drag limitations of American straight-wing jets. It was a crisis of engineering. The MiG carried heavy cannons designed to tear apart bombers, posing an existential threat to UN air superiority. The American answer was the North American F-86 Sabre. The Sabre was the equalizer. With its own swept-wing design and an all-flying tail, it could match the MiG in a dive. It relied on the rapid-fire saturation of 650 caliber machine guns, creating a shotgun effect against the enemy. The resulting clashes in MiG Alley became the stuff of legend, a high-speed chess match played at near-sonic velocities where split-second decisions determined survival. This era redefined the pilot's existence. In World War II, combat was intimate and visual. In Korea, speed compressed time. The closing speeds of these jets exceeded 1,000 miles per hour. The human eye and brain struggled to process the geometry of the kill. Pilots began relying on G-suits to keep blood in their brains during high G turns that would black out an unprotected flyer. They utilized radar-ranging gun sights to calculate lead, trusting the instrument over their own intuition. The pilot was ceasing to be a lone warrior and becoming a biological processor within an electronic system. The machine was becoming faster than the man could think. Today, as we look at the stealth profiles of the F-22 Raptor or the sensor fusion of the F-35, we are looking at the great-grandchildren of MiG Alley. The DNA of the Sabre and the MiG persists in every modern intake and stabilizer. The Korean War taught military planners that speed was life. But avionics were supremacy. It was the moment humanity realized that our wars would no longer be fought at the speed of propellers, but at the speed of sound. The jets of the Korean War were not just weapons. They were the first draft of the modern apocalypse, beautiful in their design and terrifying in their implication. They remind us that while our tools of destruction evolve into hypersonic realms, the fragility of the human operator remains the only constant in the equation of war.